Welcome, good evening, and welcome to Real Talk Tuesday. How are you guys doing? How are you guys doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're watching from YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, come and say hello. And yeah, come and join the crowd and say hi. My name is Matty Zende. I am your host here. And today we are going to be talking about storytelling. We're going to be talking about how to share storytelling, how to share stories that inspire people. Because as you know, this month is all about inspiration. And we are really trying to show you what I want to show you is how you can use your story to inspire other people. So come in. Let me know where you're watching this from, and let's get into the conversation. So as you do that, I'm just gonna pop on Facebook quickly whilst I have my cup of tea. Hello, Katouche. How are you, my lovely? It's good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. It is so good to see you. So, if you do me a huge, huge favor, if you are, you're good. You're good. I'm so happy. I'm happy. We need to catch up, okay? We need to catch up in real life because, as you know, for those of you who are watching from another parts of the world, we're in the UK and the UK has partially come out of lockdown. It's kind of mayhem. It's kind of crazy, but we're getting there. We're getting there. So, as it's lockdown coming out, I managed to get my hair done, as you can see. No, I didn't go to the hairdressers. I did my hair myself. Yes, yes. I'm that skilled. That is true. So today we're talking about storytelling, and we're talking about how can our stories be more inspirational. So if you're one of those people who's watching right now and who's trying to understand, how do I share my story online? How do I share it in a way that's comfortable? How do I share it in a way that people listen? How do I share, what's the right thing to talk about? What kind of story should I talk about? Um, you know, is it too much when you share about certain things? And, how does it all come together? So wherever you're watching this from, let me know. And if you have any questions for me, I would love to know. Please leave it in the comments so I can see it. And I'm going to come back and answer some of your questions. Okay. Okay. Perfect, 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 perfect. I can see Patricia's dancing right now. That's a good thing. You and me are dancing both. We are both dancing in this. So let's get going. Let's get going. So the reason why we're talking about storytelling and specifically inspirational storytelling, as I've said to you at the beginning of the month, that the most important thing that we can focus on is inspire people to work with us, especially when we're working on this new kind of platform of the online world. In fact, the last couple of days, I've been seeing so many different articles on videos. In fact, I saw one in the Cosmopolitan. Yes, I'm not promoting Cosmopolitan, but I saw a really cool article. I actually saw Samira Wiley on the Cosmopolitan. I was like, oh my God, black girl on the cover. Yes. So I had to get it. I paid £2 for one article. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. But they had a really good article about how video kills our confidence and how to get it back. So I guess video is a really, really important thing. It is something that's going to really help you to engage with your audience. If you're one of those people who is trying to build their business, if you are a leader, even if you're looking for work, just 30 minutes ago, I was literally reading an article on should we do video CVs and should we not do video CVs? And to be honest with you, it's going to be something that we're all going to have to learn to do. So it's a new skill. It's going to be probably a transferable skill that you're going to have to add to all your different, repertoires of skills, but it's going to be something that's going to be powerful. So how do we tell stories on videos, and what stories should we tell? Okay. So for me, I personally say that stories are stories that the ones that connect with people the most are the ones that are personal to you. And the reason why we want to start telling true stories, or stories that we know, is because they're easier to remember. So when you want to tell a story, and the reason why you tell a story as well is because it helps people to remember you more than if you were to give a ton of information. So I know that if I'm teaching somebody or if I'm training someone, they remember most if I tell stories. So some of you love, watching our videos every Tuesday because I tell a lot of stories, right? Right? You know what I mean? Yeah. I know you guys love some of those stories, and you go back, or you come back at the end, and then you give me back the feedback, and then you remember one thing from that story, and that's the most powerful thing. So you need to be memorable. You need to connect with your audience, and we do that through stories. Okay, so I can see your question, Patricia, and I'm going to come to you in a little minute. So bear with me 1 second. How you doing, African fashion guy? Hey, 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 hey. Hello, hello, hello. So Patricia has a question here, and she says, how do you keep people engaged like they have been with you for a while, but they are beginning to lose interest, and how do you keep them engaged? Right. That is a really good question. That is a really, really good question. It's a really good question because the stage that we're using right now is not the same that we used to use before. So I've been teaching people about how to build their confidence, how to speak on stage, but the stage that you have is literally the camera, the lens. And in order to engage people, you have to literally pull on the attention of people. So I'm going to answer that question very, very soon. So give me a second. Hello, Alexandra. How are you? How are you? How are you doing, Chrissy? So yes, put your questions down and I'm going to get to you. So tell stories. So I'm going to tell you a little something. I'm going to tell you some stories. And every time that I've helped someone, because my journey has not started right today, as in 2021, my journey of empowering people to be themselves and choosing the best choice in the best direction started years and years and years ago. And I didn't even know that I was an inspirational person. I had no idea whatsoever. I'm not kidding you. I had no idea. But I remember one thing was when I first started working, I was working in my early days as an employability and a career coach. And I was working with a lot of unemployed people or long-term unemployed. And it was really, really difficult for us to connect because they were sent from the job center. So I was in my early 20s working as this employability coach with people that were literally the same age as me. Okay, the exact same age as me. Now, for those of you who know, you know how awkward it is to work with people that are the exact same age as you. And I'm not talking when you're in your 30s and 40s and 50s and whatever. I'm talking like when you're a young person, when you're like 15 and 20 and 18 and 25, and you have the job and you have to convince those people that you're more qualified than them. Do you know what they're going to say? They're going to give you the side eye because they're going to look at you and think, look at this young person. What's she trying to tell me? Like, she knows better than me? What, she has more information than me? Even though you have the job, you have to win these people over. And for me, the only way for me to learn and connect with the people that I was working with is to understand who they were and where they were coming from. Okay? So I'm just looking down because I'm looking down at the questions. Okay? So bear with me 1 second. I can see you guys are posting here. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing, Jonas? How you doing? It's good to see you. It's good to see you. So for me, as I said, I was trying to keep the attention of people the same age as me, and it was really difficult. And I realized that because I looked young, and I still do, people confuse me, literally. But at the time, I thought to myself, for these people to take me seriously, I can't be the employability expert like all the way up here because we're not going to be able to level. So for me to level with them, I had to be straight with them. I had to say, look, what are you here for? Tell me all the reason why you don't want to be here, or tell me where you're coming from. Tell me your background. We started with all the things they were not happy with because those are the things that that was mostly important to them because they had been forced to be there. They did not come to my course, to my workshop by choice. They came because it was an obligation. And when you tell someone to do something about obligation, you know what happens, right? Especially when it's kids and young people. They don't want to do it. They don't want to do it. Somebody say they don't in the comments so I can see. Hell no, they don't. So they're going to give you the most difficult problems. So I started talking about all the reasons and I said to them, just go for it. Use this time to just rant. Tell me why. Tell me who. Tell me how. And once I gave them that space to express themselves, I said to them, okay, look, now that you've told me exactly the reason why you don't want to show up, why you're not happy being here, why nothing will work, and so on, etc., etc. Now let's get to know each other because now we've broken the ice. And once we broke the ice, we were able to move forward. I had to tell them a little bit about me, who I was, my background, and that slowly started to ease their backs. You see, sharing a story really connects with people. It engages with people. And so within that moment of sharing, allowing them to share their difficulties, their problems, what I found was they were more receptive to what I had to say. Okay. They were more receptive and they started remembering me. They remembered me by not just my first name, but by who I was. And it came as a big surprise because instead of calling me Matty, they call me Miss Matty, which was absolutely strange. Like, just imagine this. I'm 21 years old. I'm working with people that are 18 to 25, literally the same age as me. But because they've made this connection with me, they've given me this title of Miss Matty with this type of respect that I never asked for. So we're having these conversations and it's always Miss Matty, what can we do? Miss Matty, what can we do? And eventually I remember that one guy at this course that I was delivering and I was helping, he was really, really passionate and he really wanted to get into media. And he didn't have the confidence, but I said to him, you can do it. And I helped him to put himself forward for a media apprenticeship. And he applied through the process and then he had to leave the class. However, I didn't hear from him, but the next day he comes back and tells me, Miss Matty, I got through. I got this opportunity, which I never actually thought was going to happen. And at this time, I realized that the impact of me going through those specific steps meant everything. And I can guarantee you, I can tell you from this very moment that when I left that job and every other job that I've left and every other places and every other workshop that I've delivered, I've always had people come back to me and say, oh, Miss Matty, oh, Matty, I got this position that I was looking for. Matty, I started the book. Matty, I did this. Matty, I started a project. I get DMs all the time of people who say, I've watched your videos and it was absolutely amazing. You know, I watched your videos and you made a huge impact over my life. And those moments, let me tell you, those moments are the most powerful. And this is why you have to learn to share your own inspirational story. Now, as I said, you have to tell a story that's true. Okay? You've got to tell a story that's true. Yeah? And you've got to tell a story that you know. Now, sometimes you can tell a story about someone else. Like last week, I told you guys a story about Les Brown. And I love Les Brown, right? You guys know this. I love him. He's amazing. He's an absolutely wonderful speaker. You know, he's pretty much inspired me. But there's loads of other stories, you know, like the time I met Jack Canfield. I read his book and then I met him and then I literally asked him, could you be my mentor? You know, and there's so many other stories. There's stories that are not my own, or from my parents or my friends or my brothers and my sisters, and they're all amazing stories. Now, how do you choose which story to tell? You have to choose the story to tell according to the audience that you're speaking to. Now, if I'm speaking to any kind of audience, I'm going to be using different types of languages. I'm going to use different types of terminologies. I'm going to be using different type of example because I need to connect with that specific audience. So remember, as I said before, when I was talking to the young people, I had to connect with them on the same level. I had to level on the same wavelength, and we were the same age. So I could literally talk about things that were current and things that I knew. Okay. And that's where I started. So you've got to understand your audience well enough so that you can actually find the right story. You've got to do that research that you need to do about that audience. You've got to, you know, pull things through. You've got to ask questions of, you know, the people who are organizing maybe the event or the workshop that you're going to be speaking out. And if you don't have a physical audience, you're not delivering a workshop, but your audience is online, you got to ask questions in the comments. Your comments, your communities, whether you have a Facebook community, whether you have another community, those are the communities where you can truly find what your audience is seeking for. You can DM people and ask them questions. You can WhatsApp people and ask them questions. I ask people questions all of the time because I truly want to know what is the best material for me to deliver that you will be interested into. See, there's no reason for me to speak. There's no reason for me to teach you anything if you're not willing to listen. If it doesn't apply to you, like, what's the point? Doesn't make any sense, right? You feel me? If you feel me, in the comments say, Matty, I feel you. Instagram people say, I feel you. Okay. So I can see you've got some more questions for me and more comments. I can see here. This must be Alexandra. And the question is, that's when people entrust you with a particular role. Absolutely, absolutely. People trust you with a particular role because you have managed to break the ice. So remember last week when I was telling you that for you to be able to engage with your audience, to inspire them, you have to have a reason. Your reason is what is connected to your story. You know, what starts your story off, what starts you off from on that journey. So today I remember I was in the clubhouse, and funny enough, they were talking about storytelling. Coincidentally, it's amazing that what, you know, when you are so connected and so in line with other people, you tend to start talking about the same thing, and it just repeats itself. And it's just like, wow, how did I know I was going to talk about this today? So there were some questions that were really intriguing and really interesting. A lady who had started a personal fitness and coaching business was asking about what was the right story for her. And how she started her business was that she had started a business, got into, personal training because someone in her family had died of a health condition. But she didn't know if it was right for her to share that story. And I get what she meant because of the uncomfortableness that comes with death or dying, and how certain stories can make people feel uncomfortable. So the other thing that came up was how can she actually put this story together? How can she frame this together? How can she make it more palpable to her audience? And is that the right story to tell? And I remember the other coach, she was saying it might be the right story to tell, because you have to imagine that if you want people to get better and you're doing it for the people who love those people who are getting better, who are getting fitter, you have to put them in a space and let them know that, do you want to be fit and healthy for your children? Do you want to be fit and healthy for your family, for your partner? Because if you don't look after yourself, these are the things that will happen. And once upon a time, when I had the experience of dealing with someone in my personal life who died because of not looking after themselves. And that's when we started making the connection with the story. So we start making connections with the story, with the reasons in which we tell the stories, and also the reasons why we are doing the things that we're doing. So if your audience is in a specific area, you need to remember, how you started, and you need to start phrasing your story in a way that is connected to that reason. Okay, so I can see you guys. How you doing, Garvey Lumumba? Good to see you. Alexandra says, I feel you. Hello, break out the box. How you doing? Ile Ade, it is good to see you. Hi, Ile Ade. So this is the sister I was telling you about. Are you talking about me? Are you talking about someone else? Hello, Sabrina. It's so good to see you. It's so good to see you on Instagram. So, guys, I'm filming from both Instagram and IG and YouTube and Facebook all at once. And as I said, today we're talking about stories. So I want to hear from you. Are there any stories that you love to tell connected to the reason that you started your business or your audience, and maybe you're not fully comfortable in sharing that story? So let me know what the story is in the comment if you are brave enough to share, or give me just a summary and say, yes, Matty, I want to tell this story, and then ask me the question and I'll answer it for you. This is so good. You guys know I love tea, right? You know I love tea, Instagram guys. You know that, right? I love my tea. I'm so British, yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I'm super, super British. I love my tea. I so love my tea. Okay, fantastic. Yes, I can see yeses here. Ili Adi says yes. Kwisi says yes. Yes, I want to tell my story better. Okay, so the question is, what is the story that you want to tell? All right, what is the story that you want to tell? So Instagrammers, if you want to join us too, please tell us, is there a story that you currently want to tell? And what is the story you want to tell? Because you have to realize something. Most people are afraid of telling their story because of what people are going to think, what people are going to say. We stop ourselves from sharing our stories because we disqualify ourselves from the very beginning. We disqualify ourselves because we don't have the right qualification. We don't have the expertise. We don't have the experience. Excuse me. However, But the fact that you've been on this planet for how many years, or how many hundreds, or hundreds, I'm sorry, 20 or 30 or tens of years, actually proves that you have a story and you have experience that can be passed on. Okay. And this is where we're going to start brainstorming. A story should always have a beginning, a middle, and an end. It should have the heroine in mind, the problem and the solution that they're solving, but most of all, it has to be memorable. Now, another point that was asked when we talked about today is my story going to put people off? Is my story maybe embarrassing? Is my story ugly? Will anyone relate to my story? Who is going to be able to relate to my story because of who I am, because of who I look? And one thing I realize, and I know most, is that a lot of the people that I work with, specifically Black and brown women, a lot of them struggle with that, because sometimes it's difficult to identify, to kind of explain exactly what's happening in different situations if the rest of your audience haven't been there. But it's really powerful for you to share that story. And the reason why it's powerful and it's important for you to share those stories is because the story that you're going to say, I'm going to repeat that for you to understand. The story that you're going to tell is for other people. The story that you tell is not for yourself, it's for other people. So when you're telling a story, you need to put yourself in the other person's shoes. Now, some stories come with pain, they come with toil, they come with certain kind of experiences that no one else can have. So, as you know, my personal stories of losing my parents, losing my job, and it was a horrible story, right? But anytime I tell that story, I know that I'm inspiring someone else that has lost someone, that has lost hope, that might have lost a job, that doesn't know where to start, that doesn't know how to transition. And that story helps them. The amount of people I've connected on Facebook who have lost their parents, lost their jobs so many times. I've personally DM people on a one-to-one and just said, "Hey, are you okay? I noticed that you posted that your dad or your mom has passed." And then I shared my story. I told them, and I told them I understood. You see, your story helps people to connect with you. As I said before, it helps people to remember you because it makes you memorable, but it helps people to connect. And it helps people to see that you are an imperfect human being. Yeah. It helps them to realize you're an imperfect human being. We don't want perfection, which is why, funny enough, we watch superhero movies all the time. I don't know if you guys are watching the new Marvel superhero movie with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Guys, I'm so hooked on that. You got to watch it. Because basically, if you know about the story, Sam, which is the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Sam is a black superhero, and he's been given the shield of Captain America, and he has this dilemma. I'm sorry, spoiler alert. If you're watching it, I'm telling you now, it's spoiler alert, okay? It's spoiler alert. I'm sorry, but I'm going to tell you. So he's been given the shield, and he's been told that taking the shield is going to make him the new Captain America. But there's so many problems that comes with this. He lives in America where black men are arrested. Black men are often judged before they come in connection with other people, labeled as criminal easily. Not all of them, but most of the time, it's very likely that someone looks at a black man or a black person and assumes that they are of this specific type of background without getting to know them. And even in one episode, he gets arrested. Can you imagine? a superhero getting arrested for doing absolutely nothing, just having a discussion with his friend or an argument in the street. And so in that story, you can see a reality, and people are connecting and are living some of their own personal situations because they are watching this thing. They are watching this, the superhero movie, which is very, very real. Talks about police brutality, talks about, racism and unfairness and all these things that make people feel uncomfortable. But watching it on screen is not just fiction, but it's also real life. Okay. So I want you to start remembering that, realizing one thing. Telling your story is not a dirty thing. Telling your story is very powerful. Telling your story is going to help someone else because your story is not for you, it is for someone else. Whatever it is that you have experienced in your life, or connected to your business, or connected to your story, to where you're going, to your audience, is always for someone else. If you're learning from your failures in your business or growing your audience online, it is for someone else. It is for the person that, has never created a video before. And I was really bad at creating video. It is for the person that is still trying to figure out, can people listen to me when I talk? It's for the person who doesn't even know how to put their words together to present themselves. It's for the person who doesn't have an audience, right? And you can share those examples. So I can see, this person says, "You want some tea?" Okay. Ileadi wants some tea. Okay. But all of these stories are connected and have importance in this kind of way. So let me see your comments and let me see your questions right here. Let me have a look. So feel free, if you're on IG, to leave me your question, leave me your comment, and I will answer it as soon as I can. So I think this question is from Iliade. It says, so her story is how African and African American cultures are one and the same, even though we don't realize it all the time. That's beautiful and that's amazing, Iliade. That is amazing. And is that a story that you want to tell? Is that a story that's connected? I know it's a story connected to you, because I know you are African American. But is that a story that you want to connect with your audience and share in terms of your business? Because I know that your business is all about African prints and tablecloth and dining. Is there a story around that you can tell? If there is, let me know in the comments. Okay, let's go back. Okay, perfect. It's the story that you want to tell. What I would do, Iliade, I would start going back and remembering how you connected with the story of, how did you get involved into African prints? What was the story behind that? How did you get involved into knowing what African prints meant to you and how important it was? I want to find out that from you. Hi guys, hi on Instagram. Good to see you. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment. Today we're talking about storytelling and how to tell better stories. So if you have any questions, make sure you let me know in the comments and I will come back to you. So yes, so your story is about quilting, okay? Perfect. It's good to know. Your story is about quilting. So I want to ask you a question, Iliade. How did you get into quilting? What made you get into quilting? Was it a person? Was it a friend? Did someone, show you something? Did someone teach you something? Did someone introduce you to something? What exactly happened and how did you get into quilting? And whilst you're doing that, I'm going to tell you about a colleague of mine a friend of mine who taught me all about African fashion. Okay. So for some of you who know, I'm originally from Congo. I grew up mainly in Europe, between France, London, Belgium, you name it. I'm a little bit, not a little bit, I'm a globetrotter. Yeah. Thanks to my parents. Yeah. I had no choice, you know. I was literally born, and by the time I was 3, put on the plane, let's go. So in most of my life, I've had an upbringing which is very European, and somehow it's been very difficult to connect with my African side. Okay, but there's times which have been easier than other. Now I have a friend and a colleague who's also been a client. Her name is Jackie Brown Nishaw, and Jackie Brown has been one of these people that has taught me more about Africa than I've ever learned, right? And she gave me this urge to know more and even begin to understand the African and the Black culture of my life, which I was neglecting so much. And this lady, you know, she is Jamaican British, you know, so she is of African heritage, and she literally breathes and eats Africa. All of her being is about Africa. And she was so inspired by it, so in love with Africa, that she contaminated me. Literally, she literally contaminated me. And Jackie would do things like, I remember when she first launched her book. She told me about the book, and she said, "Oh, Matty, I'm doing a book launch. I'd love you to come. I'm doing my t-shirt launch. You need to come, and you're gonna model for me." And she'll tell me these things at the last minute, and she'll always get me involved into these things. Chrissy is laughing. I can see you. I can see you. She's laughing. This is true story, guys. This is absolutely true. And sometimes I went unexpectedly, and I was annoyed at the surprises, like, hey, you gotta do this now, Matty. Hey, you gotta wear some clothes to walk down, you know, the fashion trail for me. And believe me, I said to her, you owe me. You really owe me big time. However, as I said, she literally contaminated me. She she put me around, you know, stories and other people who were different types of African leaders, different creators, and it made me start to see Africa in different ways. Now, this woman has traveled to more African countries than I have traveled, and I was born there, and she wasn't. You see that? And so that is how I got more closer to wanting to be more about the African continent, about where I'm originally from, where my family's originally from, because she literally dragged me. This woman just dragged me into this whole thing. I had no choice, guys. Can you imagine having friends and people like that around you? I mean, they drag you around for good things, so thank God for that. But just dragging you around, which is, it's refreshing, by the way. Okay, so I'm not complaining in that way, but that is literally how, you know, I got involved into this story of Africa, and really wanting to be more part of that community, because it was because of this woman that today I'm more comfortable, you know, sharing with other Black women. You know, I didn't personally think that I would be the perfect and the right person to inspire other Black and brown women. I didn't really think, because I thought, you know, I'm so Europeanized that, you know, how the hell am I going to help other women that look like me? Because, you know, my upbringing is really, really different. And, you know, when you have your family who calls you white or coconut all the time, you're literally kind of thinking, like, what else could I bring to them? But when I started spending so much more time and working with her, it was incredible. So I want to hear those stories from you guys. I want to hear stories that have made you shift, made you start your business, made you get into what you wanted to do. So if you're brave enough, go into the comment and let me know. Let me know what those stories are. Go into the comment now. So I am watching from two screens, guys. Don't worry, I'm not ignoring you. I'm watching it from two screens. Go in the comment and let me see what those are. I can see you're leaving some comments right here. Yes, Alexandra. Um, yes, Chrissy says she knows more Africa than Africans. That is so true. Jackie Brown she is the African fashion coach. If you're not following her, she is African Fashion Guide on YouTube as well. You should definitely go follow her. She knows so much more. She is like an encyclopedia. Yes, Iliadi says she does. She absolutely does. Patricia's laughing at me. Iliadi said, yes, I had a friend who did that to me. Yeah, so you understand what I mean. So as anyone has ever had a friend who did that to them, has inspired them to do something. And Alexandra says, the best kind of friends, it's a constant discovery. If you're curious type, it's the nirvana. Very, 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 very true. If you're the curious type, it is the nirvana. It is no nirvana. But coming to, I want to conclude by just asking you, is there a story that you are too afraid of telling? If you're too afraid of telling, I want you to spend some time and write it down. I want you to spend some time and write down what it is that you want to say. I want you to think of the emotions that are connected to that story. If it's painful, if it's a painful story and it's connected with trauma and other things, it might take a little time for you to start telling that story, but you can start telling it in small doses. You can practice with other people. You can practice with your friends. You can practice with people that are close to you. And the more you start telling that story, maybe to one person, maybe to two people, it's going to start to give you that, that sense of being comfortable. Is going to start giving you that sense of feeling and knowing that you know what you're doing and that you're really connecting with someone. If you can connect with one person while sharing that story, believe me, you'll be able to connect with more people, but you've got to start practicing. If it's a story that, might make other people feel uncomfortable, I want you to also repeat it to yourself. I want you to write it down. Once again, I want you to put it down in words. Write down exactly what it is, the rawest format possible. And then I want you to structure it. Then I want you to think about being thoughtful. What would be the worst that could happen if you shared that story? Is anyone going to die? Probably not. Yeah. Because there are so many dramatic stories out on social media, believe me, that no one has actually died so far. But I know that nobody is going to die from you sharing that story. Is anyone going to hate you? Hopefully not. Maybe you might get some hate comments. It's possible. Now, not everything that I share, through my stories or from my experience or through my work, everybody agrees with me, and that's okay. You have to be okay with being okay if nobody agrees with you and nobody likes you, because you're not supposed to be liked by everybody. Okay? Some people will, some people won't. So what? We move on to the next. Is this a story that's going to put my life in danger? Think about that. If it's going to put your life in danger, obviously you can't tell that story. Maybe you can't tell that story yet. At this moment, it's too dangerous, so you can't tell the story. You can tell maybe bits of it or maybe a snippet of it. Is this story going to change someone's life? Now, that is the most important thing. Is this story going to change someone's life? The most likelihood of it is it's going to change someone's life. It's either going to educate that person, it's either going to inspire that person, it's even going to get them to take some action, it's going to motivate them, get them to take some really physical action, change their life, whatever it's going to do, or entice them to do something else. So if you think of all these questions whilst you're deciding on what the story is going to be and what you're going to tell, and would it be appropriate for that specific environment, then I want you to start practicing. Okay, practice on camera. Be brave, be bold enough to share your videos. Share your videos with me. If you guys are connected with me on my socials, we do what we call a 1 minute video. Who's doing 1 minute video challenge with me? Let me know in the comments so I can see. If you are, then what you can do is you can connect with me and share that story with me either through my Facebook group, which is in the link if you're watching on YouTube. And if it's not in the link in the Instagram, you can always find it in the bio, okay? Because it's everywhere, literally. And that what's going to help is being able to share with different communities which are interested and connected to what you're doing is going to give you the confidence to be able to share that story even more and to practice sharing that story. So I want to hear from you. What have you connected most with today? What have you learned from storytelling? What is the most important thing that you're going to take home with you today and say, you know what? From listening to you, Massey, I want to be able to share these type of stories. I want to be able to share stories that make people feel this way. I want to be able to share stories that do this to other people. And I want to tell this story. So I'm going to give you a minute. Go in the comments and let me know what stories you want to tell. Go for it. I love you guys' comments, man. You guys just are just so funny. Yes. I could see someone said yes. I want to tell more stories. Okay. So IG, oh my IG friends, if you have a story that you want to tell or something that you've learned today, let me know in the comments and I will add that and answer you. So Alexandra said, I'm going to leave behind my sense of illegitimacy. Okay. So when you say illegitimacy, Alexandra, do you mean that the sense that you don't belong? I'm just trying to confirm if I'm saying it correctly. Patricia says, I love the way you're sipping tea. You're absolutely wonderful, Patricia. I'm trying to be ladylike and, I'm sipping tea. Okay, so Alexandra says, I've got yet to garner what I will tell, though. Okay, good. So it is a question of really, I guess when you mean illegitimacy, you mean that you sound like you feel like you don't belong. So you're going to leave that sense of not belonging behind. Is that what you mean? Ah, that makes a lot of sense. Alexandra says, more the idea that my story will interest no one. Okay, that's very true. That's very true. I'm happy to hear that. I'm absolutely happy to hear that. Every one of our stories is going to be for someone, at least one person. Because the thing is, like when you're speaking on stage or on camera, you have to, even if you're not speaking to every single person in the audience, you have to imagine that you're speaking to one person. And if you're speaking to that one person, then you're always going to make a connection. If one person comes at the end of the talk and says, you've changed my life, that's all that matters. Okay. Everything else is not important. That is all that matters. All right. So Pitush says, I would like to tell stories that uplift others. That's amazing. What kind of stories would you like to tell, Pitush? Is it a personal story? Is it stories about um, your life, your family, your children, your work? What kind of stories would you like to share? Let me know in the comments. And I know that Pitush, you said, how do you get people more engaged when you're losing interest? So I'm going to add to that is that what you can start doing is when you're speaking to people online, the best way to do, or the best thing to do, very much like what I do all the time, is I call you guys by your names on the internet. I say, Pitush, Alexandra, Ile Ade, and I call you by your name, because when you call someone by their names, it means that person is more engaged and they know that they've been, someone is talking to them. So you keep people's attention by literally singling them out in a way where you're not making them feel uncomfortable. You're just trying to make them feel connected. So you're getting to see if they've heard you, if they're agreeing with you, if they are connecting with you. Okay, so that would be the best way. But Patricia, I really would love to know, what type of stories do you want to tell? Like the type of story that want to uplift others. So I'm going to give you this time. You don't have to tell me today if you're not sure, if you're not haven't thought about it. But I want you to think of next time we meet. Next Tuesday. Okay, what kind of stories do you want to tell? And even if you want to come on the live with me and kind of let me help you and figure out what type of stories those are, we can do that. But once we finish today, I want you to think about what kind of stories do I want to tell, and be very honest with you. Be very straight with yourself. You don't have to pretend or make up any stories. You just have to be true with yourself. Hello, Mountain of Inspiration. How are you? So good to see you. Haven't seen you in ages. Hi. So good to see you. All the way from Canada. Yeah? Did I get it right? I think so. I think you're from Canada. Yeah. I hope. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, right. Patricia says, I want to tell stories about my life, my childhood. That's beautiful, Patricia. That is absolutely beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. Tell stories about your life and childhood. And to let you know, guys, Patricia's my cousin, so I know her. Yes, tell stories about your life and your childhood. And if I can ask, Patricia, what is it about your life and childhood that you want to, when you're sharing that stories, what do you want to happen? What do you want to happen when you tell those stories to people? Do you want people to change? Do you want people to take action in their lives? Do you want people to be transformed? What is it that you want people to do when you're sharing those stories? Yes, Mountain of Inspiration. Oh man, I miss you too. Good to see you all the way from Toronto, Canada. Yes, I got it right. I got it right, guys. I got it right. Thank you. Yes. So to just think about it, think about the story. You can always DM me and speak to me afterwards. We can have a conversation about that. So I'm going to leave you guys today. But if you guys are, you can always come back and watch this on the replay. The replay is going to be on Instagram and on YouTube and on Facebook. Yes. So you feel free to come back and watch it on the replay. And if you're watching on the replay already, please let me know, what type of stories would you like to tell, and what kind of impact would you like people to have once they watch your stories and once they listen to you? What would you like people to do? How would you like people to be transformed? If there are any aspects that you really, really need to speak to me about when it comes to storytelling, and if you want help structuring your stories, there is a link in my bio. If you're watching on YouTube, there is a link in the actual section, in the information section, and you can actually book a call with me if you want to talk to me individually, or you can actually join me in one of my Facebook membership and my 18 membership, which is a place where you will get to brainstorm and really understand how to share your stories and really be able to work in a really great peer-to-peer support group that's going to empower you to tell your stories even better. Actually, on Thursday, I'm opening up the group to anyone that is not from the group, and the offer is only for £1 instead of £37. So if you're interested, please let me know, leave it in the comments or DM me, and I will send you an offer. Okay. And I know that some of you guys already said yes. So for the people who said yes, I know who you are, and I will send you an offer. I haven't forgotten you. But for those of you who really want to join me, feel free to let me know in a comment, and I will send you that link. So I hope that you've really learned from this session and that you've really taken on this amazing opportunity to learn how to tell stories and to, to be a better storyteller. Because remember, your stories are not for yourself. Your stories are for other people. So do not be afraid to share your stories, and do not be afraid to express it. Your story is not uncomfortable, it is not horrible, it is not ugly, it is perfect, as imperfect as it is. All right, my lovelies. So it's been great seeing you. It's been great being around with you, but I gotta go. Have a great, 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 wonderful day. Thank you for the encouragement. You are absolutely welcome. You are absolutely welcome. I will speak to you guys very, very soon. Bye.